What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
If you ever got red eyes after swimming, it is not from the chlorine. It is from the chemicals mixing with urine.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
For kids aged 4 to 5, 85% will score within the creative genius range when they are tested for creativity. Those same batch of kids, by the time they hit high school, will score at 12% of them being creative geniuses. So almost all kids are creative geniuses, and we managed to educate that right out of them.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
The difference between $1 million and $1 billion. Let me explain. Suppose you had $1 million in a bank account and you pushed the magic red button and the money in that bank account started disappearing at $1 per second. How long would that money last? Answer, a little less than 2 weeks, like 12 and a half, 13 days. Now, if you put $1 billion in the same bank account with that same function, you lose $1 per second while it's in there. How long would $1 billion last? People tend to think, oh, like a year or two or something like that. Try over 30 years. Think about that the next time somebody tells you Jeff Bezos is worth over $200 billion. Not Amazon, him. One guy. That's crazy.
A fact or statistic that seems fake but is real.
Okay, this does totally seem fake, but I swear to God it's real. There's this book that was written in the 40s after a bunch of soldiers came back from war that said that 75% of soldiers on the front who got critically injured did not want painkillers. Now, before I proceed, let me remind you that I am a manicurist. I'm not a medical professional, so I apologize that I don't know the terms. I'm just someone with trauma listening to The Body Keeps the Score. So the person who wrote The Body Keeps the Score heard this fact and he was like, wow, that's wild. I want to figure this out. So he took a bunch of Vietnam vets and he was like, yo, we're going to put you through a pain test, which is where they put their hand in ice and had them watch Platoon. They lasted longer with their hand in the ice watching Platoon than they did with whatever feel-good movie that they put on for them. And what they found out was that if you have PTSD and you're watching something violent happen in front of you, whether it be a movie or an event or whatever, your brain releases essentially a natural painkiller. You go into survival mode. Human brain is fascinating. I also feel like this is so validating for people with PTSD. I see you and I love you. It's called The Body Keeps the Score.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
If you were a colonizer who came over aboard one of Christopher Columbus's ships in 1492, and you arrived in the Americas, and upon arrival, you started earning $5,000 per day, and somehow you were immortal, and you were still alive and still earning $5,000 per day, today, and you never spent one penny of any of that money that you've accumulated, it would take Jeff Bezos less than 2 weeks to earn the same amount. We are all fuck kids, eh?
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
I have a good one for you. So, believe it or not, recently, psychologists and sociologists around the world created this really cool algorithm that takes beauty standards from cultures and places all around the world and generates what the most, beautiful face would be considered across, all these cultures. Now, interestingly, the computer algorithm that they used generated this one image consistently across all cultures. This is the most beautiful face in the world. I'm going to show it to you right now.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
The fact that under 35 years of age, the median net worth is $11,000. Our generation is doomed. I earn in the top 3% of the US, and I can barely afford a house. Asset inflation is monstrous. The rich live in their own bubble.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
John Tyler's grandson is still alive. John Tyler was our 10th president. He was born in 1790, and in 1853, when he was 63, he fathered a son named Lyon Gardner Tyler, and Lyon Gardner lived until 1935, but in 1928, he fathered a boy named Harrison Ruffin Tyler. So Harrison is still alive, still rocking it, and his grandfather was the 10th president of the United States. So it's crazy. He is still alive, but his grandfather, who clearly he never met, was born in the 1700s. History is very close. It's very short time ago. It's very scary to think about.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
Okay, so in 2012, scientists swapped a belly button and they found like 2,300 species of bacteria living in people's belly buttons collectively, but 1,500 of those were completely new to science, never before discovered. And one man had bacteria that had only prior been discovered in Japanese soil, and he had never traveled out of the country before. I hate belly buttons.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
We have a lot more control over our reality than we realize. And this is not metaphysical garbage. We can't manifest just anything out of the universe by thinking it, but we can do the next best thing. That is make ourselves think that we did. There are way more details in the world than we can actually pay attention to, so our brains have to pick and choose what we're paying attention to. And the stories you tell yourself about your life and the way things are going to go have a big impact on what your brain chooses to pay attention to. And what we pay attention to is ultimately the reality that we experience. So if you craft a story about yourself that only bad things happen to you, then guess what you're going to notice? And guess what you're going to ignore? But on the other hand, if you tell yourself that today's going to be a good day, as in literally say it out loud, you can get better at noticing the good things in your life. Today, for example, I had to go in the hospital, but I sat paralyzed, avoiding going in for an hour and a half. But when I went in, it only took me 15 minutes. So my story could be that today's a failure because I wasted all that time, or a day of great fortune. So which will you choose?
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
Anatomically modern humans came into existence about 300,000 years ago. Modern means that these were not cavemen. These were people just like you and me. They had the same brains, they have the same thought and speech capabilities, the same intelligence. But Sumer, the first civilization, did not come into existence until 6,500 years ago. It was around this time they invented writing. This is the beginning of recorded history. All of recorded history from the first civilization until this moment right now covers only 2% of all human existence. The rest is unrecorded. For most of human existence, we lived alongside Neanderthals, who were also intelligent and capable of speech and even making music. Until about only 10,000 years ago, you can go outside and see a giant ground sloth. They could grow to be even bigger than elephants. It amazes me endlessly to think about the 98% of human experience that was never written down.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
If you're playing Uno and someone plays a draw 2 against you, it is against the rules for you to then place your draw 2 down and make someone else draw 4. That's called stacking. It's against the rules. But if someone does play a draw 2 and you have a reverse that is the same color as that draw 2, you can reverse that draw 2 back against the person that's trying to make you draw 2 and make them draw 2.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
If you had a mole of basketballs, you could create a new planet the size of the Earth. If you received a mole of pennies on the day you were born and spent $1 million a second until the day you died at the age of 100, you would still have more than 99.99% of your money in the bank.
Now that's how big a mole is, but atoms are tiny. In this cup of water, I have a mole of water molecules. It's just crazy.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
Detroit, Michigan is farther east than Atlanta, Georgia.
What is a fact or statistic that seems fake but is real?
Chuck E. Cheese's full name is Charles Entertainment Cheese, and he's an orphan who doesn't know his own birthday, so he throws birthday parties for children.